Every day, you're either increasing or decreasing your wealth. It's not static. It's always in flux. And most people can't clearly articulate exactly what their wealth building strategy is. And because of that, it's very difficult to become intentional about building wealth in the most efficient way possible. I found this to be true for me recently when a friend of mine and West Point classmate, Skylar Williamson, who was a former professional baseball player, did a couple combat tours in Afghanistan, and then got out of the Army and became a really successful real estate investor. He asked me to come on his show recently and share my wealth building strategy. I wasn't sure exactly what he was looking for initially, and he wanted me to share my whole wealth building strategy in one picture. And so he shared his with me so that I could create my own version of that, and it was super enlightening. By looking at this, I could really understand how I was making money, how I could change the way I'm making money to become more efficient, what levers led to the highest and most efficient wealth building I could possibly get. So in this video, I'm going to get very transparent with you, and I'm going to share with you in one graphical representation what my wealth building strategy looks like, so that you can take this and you can create your own, and you can start to build upon that to become a much more efficient wealth building machine. So let's go ahead and dive right in, and I'm going to explain exactly what this all means. But I just want to say right up front that this is what my wealth building strategy looks like today. This isn't how it started. I've been investing for almost 2 decades now. I bought my first investment property in 2006, just out of college. And at that time, my wealth building strategy had like one box on it, because that was the only way I was making money, is with that first property. And it's just grown over time. And so I think people hear that the average millionaire has like 10 streams of income or whatever the stat is, and they feel like they need to go out and start creating all these streams of income. But the way that I've seen it most effectively grow over time is to start with one stream of income, master that, and then add increasingly more streams of income. So let me just explain how the different ways are that we make money. Up on top, this is our active real estate business. And so I'm going to go in order of the way that I would recommend you add streams of income to your wealth building strategy. I think it's really important to start with an active way of making money. You got to go out there and feed yourself somehow. And so for us, that's green vet homes. That's how we buy properties. We'll do flips sometimes. We'll manage other properties for other people. We'll wholesale deals. And this is our active, like this is what requires us to get up and actively work in our real estate business. And so I think that's where most people start. So for us, that's green vet homes. So all the income from all that goes over to an income bucket. And I'm going to explain how this all breaks down in a second. So that's the first one, is the active income. Then we've got our rental properties, our short-term holdings, LLCs. So I used to buy long-term rentals, now I buy short-term rentals, but this is the income that we get from our rental properties, from our holdings. So after you have your active income, then the next step typically is to start creating passive income. And this is the income that doesn't require us to get up and kill something, drag it home, and eat it every single day. It's just set up to consistently generate income for us. And so short-term rentals, specifically these utilitarian, low-cost, high cash-flowing short-term rentals that we invest in, has been the absolute best way that we've found to do that. Now, I want to caveat that by saying that I don't believe there's any such thing as totally passive income. Even if you're buying an index fund, you still have to select the index fund, which takes some sort of effort and thinking. So I say passive income, but it's really semi-passive income. You can set up systems to where it takes very little consistent effort on your part to create continuous income into the future. So that's the second bucket. Now the third bucket is very similar to the second bucket. It's buying investment properties, buying assets, but we're doing it in a tax-advantaged way. And I don't want to get into the particulars of it, but we invest in opportunity zones, which are government-designated, more tax-advantaged places that you can invest in rental properties. And you have to follow some rules to do it, but it gives us a huge tax advantage. And as you start to accumulate wealth, taxes become more of a concern and something you start thinking about a lot more. Hey, real quick, the sponsor for today's video is the #1 banking platform built specifically for rental property investors. I am constantly looking for the best tools to manage my properties and my finances, and in my opinion, Baselane has built the ultimate all-in-one solution. Baselane allows you to set up unlimited virtual bank accounts and debit cards for better visibility in your cash flow and finances. And you can also do other things like sign leases with tenants, collect rent, keep track of your books, and review your analytics. And finally, it's all in one place. Plus, they have the industry-leading annual percentage yield, which is just a fancy way of saying you make a lot more money on the money that you have deposited in your Baselane bank accounts. So I personally use the platform along with over 40,000 other real estate investors. So you can use the link that just popped up, and it's also in the video description below, and open as many business bank accounts as you want, and it's all for free. The link is baselane.com/Kirby, which is my first name. That's BASELANE.com/KIRBY. So those are the first three. Then the fourth one has come along organically as I've done those first three. So obviously, as you become more of an expert in something, then you want to talk about it a lot more, and an education platform sort of developed just as a result of doing what we were doing every day. So for the last almost 2 decades, I've been investing in real estate. So probably about 5 years ago, I started a podcast, and the podcast didn't generate any money. It was just me sharing what I'm doing. And it was more of just kind of marketing and just discussing what I'm doing and helping other people out. That's grown over time, and it's turned into a paid program that walks people through the process of finding, buying, and setting up their first high cash flowing short-term rental. It's turned into a YouTube channel. It's turned in the podcast has grown quite a bit. And now there's sponsors that are coming along and saying, we want to pay you to, talk about our product if it aligns with what you're doing. There's obviously the program sales, there's ads, there's affiliates, there's brand sponsors. So there's all different ways that this educational platform is bringing in income. And some of it's more active and some of it's pretty passive, but it's just another tool to generate more income and more wealth building. And then finally, as we've created more wealth, then we've directed some of that into retirement accounts. And so we have a self-directed Roth IRA, my wife and I both do, set up to where we can take that money. Again, it's tax advantaged to where we're not being taxed on it. We've already paid the taxes up front, then we put the money into the IRA, and then we can grow that tax-free over time. And so now we take that money and we can do loans. Primarily, we do hard money loans to other investors to fund their deals, and that money consistently grows in a tax-advantaged account. So the two buckets here that have the dotted lines are tax advantaged. So those don't go into our overall income bucket, but the other three go into the income bucket. So these are ways that we're every month creating fresh income, and all of that goes into an income bucket. Then we follow what we call the Profit First system. And there's a book by David Richter called Profit First for Real Estate Investing, which I highly recommend. I give it as a gift to anyone who's a part of my program. And it outlines how to manage your money really efficiently and really understand what you have and how to direct that for the different things in your life. So we have an income account, so it's a separate bank account where all of our income flows into. And then twice a month, what we do is we take out a different percentage, and these are just example percentages, but we take out a percentage for profit, owner's compensation, taxes, operating expenses, and repairs. And so if you start with these, you'll cover the vast majority of expenses in your life. And what most people do is all the money flows into an income account, and then they try to take money for themselves. They try to fund repairs for their properties. They try to buy new properties and invest some of that money. And it's all this big mess. They don't clearly know how much they have for these different purposes. And so by doing this, it separates the money out into buckets for these different purposes. And so I know that if my household budget is, say, $10,000 a month is what I need to live off of, then I know that needs to be 25% of the overall income. So my business then, these three ways that I'm making money, need to be $40,000, because $40,000 coming into the income account, I'm going to take 25% of that, or $10,000, and that's going to my personal budget. Then I'll take 15%, set that aside for profit so that I know that I have that there for staff performance bonuses, donations, pay off debt, all the different things that you might do with your profit. Obviously, the tax man's always going to be knocking on the door. So then at the end of the year, you're going to have enough of a set aside for taxes if you're setting aside the right percentage. Then you can put 40% into your operating expenses here, and you can use that to pay your bills off of. So you're not dipping into your just general account and hoping that there's enough money left over to pay all your bills and, you know, take enough to live off of and all that, all the different tasks that you have for your money. And then also you can set aside 10% for repairs for your property. So we have, you know, 21 at this point short-term rental listings. We're about to add 8 new units to our portfolio. And so those things are going to have repairs. You know, furnaces are going to die. We're going to need new roofs. We're going to need, you know, touch-up stuff. And so you can set that aside so it's there. You know, it's not mixed with everything else, but it's there when you need it. So that's our current wealth building strategy. But what I'd encourage you to do is take this and use this model to create your own. And create your own based on what you're doing today, which might be very basic, and then also create one for the future of what you want it to look like in the future. And I think this will be very enlightening to show you, you know, where you stand today and some of the levers that you can pull to start creating a lot more wealth a lot more efficiently. I wish I had done this a lot sooner. One last thing that I want to mention is to consider time as a big factor as well. Don't just look at this and say, what are the things that I can do to create the maximum amount of wealth, but consider how much wealth you can create compared to how much time it will take, because time is that one resource that we can't get more of. And so as you start to accumulate wealth, you start to build wealth over time, time becomes a much more important factor to you. So you want to get efficient with your wealth building and build more wealth without it requiring as much time from you. As always, if this was helpful for you, I'd be grateful if you hit that like button. You can also subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you can be notified when new videos similar to this one are released. I release videos on this channel on a weekly basis. Thanks for joining me in this video. God bless, and I'll see you in the next video.